Okay, guys, welcome back to another What's News, and I'm not going to waste any time. Let's start it. The first story I'm going to be talking about is the situation here that is still going on as I speak. This is going to be pretty much an update by update report because it is now going on 5 days and the standoff is continuing. For those who haven't been following what's going on, especially within the Mid-City, Alabama area, there is a standoff of a man accusing of holding a 5-year-old boy hostage after he has shot and killed a bus driver. It was an episode that unfolded 5 days ago. Charles Albert Poland Jr., age 66, a man known around the town as Chuck, was described by folks in hometown of Newton as a humble hero who gave his life Tuesday to protect the children on his bus. The report also says that Jim Lee Dextrous, I believe, a veteran known as Jimmy, in his neighborhood, boarded a school bus filled with 21 children Tuesday afternoon and demanded two boys between the ages of 6 and 8. When Poland tried to block his way, the gunman shot him several times and took a 5-year-old boy, who police said remained in an underground bunker with Diapers. Wally Olson said in a briefing with reporters Saturday that the suspect has told them that he has blankets and an electric heater in his bunker. Authorities have been communicating with Diapers through a ventilation pipe to the underground bunker. Olson also said that the suspect has allowed authorities to deliver coloring books and medication and toys for the boy. In a comment, Olson said he wanted to thank him for taking care of our boy, and that was very important. In the meantime, there's also reports that the victim families and friends had a wake for the deceased this past Saturday, and he's going to be put to rest on Sunday afternoon. The report also says that they believe it says here that in the recent report, that the suspect was supposed to appear in court for an incident with his neighbors that also involved him shooting his neighbor. So obviously this situation, he does have this outburst before. There's still no word as to why he took the boy. There hasn't been too much information on that part. But the police, local police as well as the feds, have been very cautious in terms of moving in. I am very deeply worried about this situation. It's been 5 days, and the more this thing drags out, the more worried I get. Hopefully, this can resolve itself peacefully without anyone getting hurt. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm very, very worried for the boy's safety. The one thing I will say, at least they know the boy is okay. I just don't understand. I don't understand what his motive was, why he did what he did. And I will leave a link below so you can read the full article. But it is something that has been continuing going on day after day, and it doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. Hopefully, as updates continue to surface, I can give you something new to in terms of this situation. But right now, the only thing I got is pretty much what I've been getting for the last 5 days since following this story. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't know what he's trying to prove. I really don't. But again, I will leave a link. You guys can read it. You guys can comment on it, and I will do updates on this story. Okay, let's move on. I'm gonna go right straight to a story from Lake Erie, Ohio. It involves private prisons, and it involves situation in these prisons. And the reason why this is getting a lot of headway is because a lot of states, especially in the Midwest, has been really pushing to privatize a lot of the state prisons. They believe that corporations have a better can do better by managing these prisons than the state does, and so they've been buying out a lot of these prisons, or leasing these prisons through contractors. As a result, we've been getting a lot of reports lately, especially in Florida, about these prisons not being what they're supposed to be or what they've been advertised to be, in terms of programs, and making sure that the facility is safe, and runs sufficiently with the state codes. In fact, most of them don't have an overseer to make sure that happens. And in the case of Ohio, who bought Lake Erie's prison for $72.7 million in 2011, has been hit with a lot of violations lately, from anything from running water through toilets or just through pipes, to the lack of security, where the point where even drugs has been pretty much being smuggled. It has gotten to the point where even some officials have been telling them, who's been asking the mayor, hey, look, you gotta help us out here. This is just getting ridiculous. Was requesting assistance. He also said that that it's becoming more of a burden than what it's worth. Now, originally, they was planned to release a couple more prisons, I believe 5, to private contractors and corporations, but instead just released the one. And although it's just one prison that's under their guidelines, it is the one that has been getting a lot of attention, especially since a lot of politicians is running this belief that the private corporation can do a much more better job than the state. And here it is, and why people are doubting that. The state had docked the company nearly $500,000 in pay because of violations. That is a lot. And $500,000. That is a lot. And God knows how much more that can build up. And here's the thing I think people need to understand. This is why when you talk about private companies investing or buying prisons, you gotta ask what's the cause and effect of this, because you gotta understand something. Corporations their job is to do one thing and one thing only, to make money. All right, they can't make money if there's not enough people in the prison system. So you gotta ask yourself how they're gonna do that, by making laws that are to bring people in. Remember, it don't have to be murder law. It doesn't have to be murder or any other heinous crime. It could be the pettiest stuffs. And we had that situation in New York State, where they had to ratify some of the laws, because some of the stuff that the people was getting locked up for was petty stuff. And that is something that that not only lawmakers has been doing, but the people who have run the prison have been doing. You'd be surprised how corporations can manipulate the law and manipulate the system to their advantage. And that is something that that you got to be careful when you're putting the corporations in. With that being said, this is something that's going to be monitored, especially the high corporations such as CCA, and also other vendors out there who run the prisons. This is something that everybody's keeping a sharp eye on, especially since a lot of states are arguing that it is a good that having corporations run the prison is a good thing. Critics are also arguing, and this is also in the paragraph, that critics argued that Lake Erie facilities offers a textbook example of problems that can arise from prison privatization, high rate of staff turnover, problems in administration, health care, and poor physical conditions. And I know a lot of people are saying they're convicts. Why should we care about what goes on in this prison? They should have never put themselves in that position in the first place. But I want you to understand one thing. The reason why it's called correction is for those prisoners to correct themselves, to rehabilitate themselves. If you don't have the programs to do that, what makes you think if they come out they can commit another crime or put themselves back in the same situation? It will be a revolving door all over again. And that's the thing I think people need to realize when coming to these prisons. They're not just there to lock them up and throw away the key. There are some who have shorter sentence, some have long sentence, but during that time, you will like to think that they are doing something productive, rehabilitating themselves, getting their problems in order. And that's the thing I think people need to also think about when it comes to these correction facilities. And if you have privatizations, they will do everything to trim the budget, to keep the budget down, in order for them to fill their pockets. You'd be surprised how much money these facilities get per inmate. It's a lot. A lot. I'll leave a link below. You guys can comment on it. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this matter. This is something that I think that we should talk about. Moving on to story number 3. There has not been a suspect yet identified in the Texas prosecution's death. In case you haven't been following this for the last couple of days, it was an incident that happened in the Texas County Courthouse. This happened on Friday, a day after it was locked down and closed after the fatal shooting that led to prosecutors of the lead prosecutor by unknown killers or killers. This story has gotten a huge amount of attention, especially in the Texas area, and especially the South area. But it says that Mark E. Hassey, 57, was shot multiple times on Thursday morning in a employee's parking lot about a block from the courthouse office in a small north town of southeast of Dallas. The authorities said that 1 or 2 gunmen got out of the gray or silver sedan, opened fire, and then spun away. Witnesses told the investigation that the men appeared to have their face covered and wore black clothing and technical style vests. They remain a focus of local and state and federal manhunt. So they're looking for these guys. And when you kill a main official, any kind of head official, you better believe you'll now become public enemy number 1 in the state's eyes and the federal eyes. The report also pretty much said that they are looking into tips that's being brought by the community. But I will say this, it's going to be very, very difficult because of the fact that the witnesses have different accounts. One says one thing, how the situation is going on. The other witness says another thing. So you have so many reenactments of what went down that it's almost impossible to find out which one is genuine and which one is just over exaggerated. Not to say that the witnesses are not lying, but witnesses' eyes can tell a different story than the other person. It says here that Mr. Hassan was an assistant district attorney and the lead felony prosecution for Kaufman County in 1980. He works as a prosecution nearby Dallas County, where he oversees organized crime cases. He became a criminal defense attorney in East Texas before joining the Kaufman County office about 3 years ago. He was unmarried and didn't have any children. He was also known to carry a firearm and was state licensed peace officer, but the authorities declined to say if he was armed at the time of the shooting. Armed or not, if the guy come in by surprise, I mean, there's not much you can do. Kaufman County prosecutor have helped in the investigation of the Aaron brothers of Texas prison gang. The shooting occurred the same day that the 2 gang members, Ben Christian Dillon of Houston and James Marshall Milliram of Dallas plead guilty to racketeering charges in a federal court in Houston. This is and you better believe they're gonna be looking at them, and they're gonna look at their relatives as well. They even said that they're looking at most of all his cases and see if if any of them could lead to the a possibility of this being an actual hit. That's what a lot of people in police officers, federal as well as prosecution, are saying this is a possible hit, especially the way that has been orchestrated, the way it has been described by most of the witnesses. But one thing is definitely is certain, especially from articles that I've also read about this, is they're not going to stop looking for these guys. They want these guys, and they're going to stop at nothing to find these guys. And in Texas, when you commit a crime like that, don't expect them to be too nice when it comes to electric chair. So I'll leave a link on that story. You guys can check it out yourself. You can also comment on yourself, especially those who live in the Texas area. I want your take on that as well. Let's move along. And this is a story here that actually forced me to redo this whole thing over, because I was actually kind of surprised about this. And there's a reason why I'm surprised. It says here, I'm going to read the main top article courtesy of the HuffPost. It says, Chris Williams, Montana medical marijuana grower, sentenced to 5 years in prison. Now, I guess you guys are wondering, why is this a big deal? Well, I'm going to read what this article says, and then I will have the discussion. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about this, but let's begin. A convicted medical marijuana grower will spend 5 years in prison after a Montana District Court judge sentenced him to federal guns and drug charges. Chris Williams, who was working as a medical pot grower in Hanna in 2011 before federal agents raided his greenhouse, intentionally refusing a plea deal because he said he was just doing his job, the Montana Standard report. Until today, he faces up to 90 years in prison, but took a rare post-trial plea deal and a sentence of 5 years as long as he doesn't appeal the conviction. And you gotta ask yourself, why is this a rare case, and why he would do this, especially when he was already convicted? This is where it gets weird. According to the Daily Chronicles, okay, the case had attracted lots of media attention because medical marijuana was legal. Repeat this again. Medical marijuana was legal in Montana at the time of Williams' arrest. He was busted by the federal agents in 2011 and found guilty on 8 drug charges. And a year later, the Associated Press reported that the federal judge barred Williams from arguing that he followed state law regarding medical marijuana growing. He was among several people charged of drug offense in the 2011 raid. The feds dismantled several marijuana businesses in Montana that March, and Williams was the only suspect who didn't intentionally take a plea deal. The plea deal he took after his conviction dropped all but 2 charges, as well as a $1.2 million forfeiture from his business partners, Montana Cannabis. Now, here's the crazy part about this, and I'm gonna see if I can find other articles that has similar situations like this. The state passed. They had a law saying it was illegal to grow marijuana. If he had a license and he kept through the regulations that the state requires, what was it that he was also doing that got the feds knocking at his door? And that's the thing that really concerns me.
Maybe he was doing it in a different state that wasn't legal.
Well, according to this article, he got busted in Montana, and according to this, it was legal in Montana. Now, granted, they haven't said much about the gun charges, and that's something I'm not too sure if that's a big hit, but it does raise the question. And we always talk about when is the time that the Fed stepped in, and when is the time the Feds won't step in. how many states does have these kind of laws, and we yet the federal comes in anyway and then does what they gotta do. And the reason why I'm bogged out at this is because I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it. I'm perfectly aware of what you can do. I mean, but it does raise the question if he would have gone to, and this is why it's so interesting here, because as part of the plea deal, he couldn't appeal this conviction. Which I'm kind of curious, if he have gone through the appeal process, would he have won his conviction, and the state and the federal government knew that?
But did he blow? Okay. Did they catch him doing something out of state and bring him back into the state?
Well, again, this article.
They don't tell you that.
Well, again, this article has said clearly. And in case you wonder who I'm talking to a friend of mine in the background. The article never said that he did anything out of state. They said he was doing his job. It was raided. His facility was raided. They raided his facility. They closed down other facilities within that state. He was the only one that didn't took a plea deal. And according to this, he said he was just doing his job. And until the day he faced up to 90 years in prison, but he took the plea deal. It also said that the federal judge barred him from actually mentioning that he was doing what the Montana state guidelines was doing. So again, this is kind of one of those stories that I'm kind of wondering if the Montana, if he did something illegal, was it just the marijuana? This is the thing that has really bothered me, because again, I have to stress this. Marijuana, medical marijuana, was legal in Montana at the time. Now, a lot of things can come from this. Was he paying taxes? Was he doing it out of guidelines? Was he selling more than marijuana? Was he? And this is the whole thing, and that's the whole thing I'm kind of wondering about, because he was charged with multiple counts. The plea deal brought it down to except for 2. But again, I have to ask, did the federal actually overstep their bounds in this one? And I know a lot of people who probably follow this case is probably going to comment on this more than any of the stories I talked about here, because it is something that actually baffles me a little bit. Say, wait a minute, if it's legal in the state, what else did he do? And Huffington Post didn't say anything specifically, except they did raid his place of business, shut it down, charge him with all these drug counts. He was convicted, and in a post deal, they said that you do 5 years, and as long as you don't appeal this conviction, you'll be good. So it is one of those stories that's very, very rare, and I'm kind of wondering just how much power does these states have when it comes to legalizing marijuana, and how much, and especially if these are marijuana growers, are they actually recognized by the feds as well as the state as a legitimate business? It's something that I think that should be taken into account, because again, California, they legalize it as for medical purposes. Marijuana, they legalize marijuana for medical purposes. Other states have slowly but surely is legalizing it, but does the growers are recognized though by the feds as well as the state? That's the whole thing. Well, I know one thing though. It's definitely gonna have, for those who want to have a business being pot growers, they better think twice and make sure they know what the federal laws is about that, because they're busting them. Well, I'll leave a link below, guys. I'm curious what you guys have to say about this, so I will leave a link below. Let me know what you feel about this. I'd love to hear your opinion on this, especially on this story. But yeah, this is kind of one of those ones that actually scratched my head a little bit. It makes me wonder exactly, does the Fed actually will recognize the states in terms of legalizing marijuana, or in this case, recognizing marijuana growers for that matter. So I'll leave it for you guys to comment on. And moving on to the very last story, which I saved for last. It is probably the most. It was on the weird file, and there's a reason why it was on the weird file of the Huffington Post. There was a woman, Priscilla, I believe, Priscilla Pena, and Michelle, two of them actually, and Michelle Blessingo, arrested for wearing cocaine diapers at JFK. I don't know what to say about that. I have no. I can't really top that. A Bronx woman was arrested after allegedly attempting to smuggle cocaine in diapers through a JFK International Airport Saturday. Patricia Pena and Michelle Blessing was caught wearing cocaine diapers when they arrived at JFK Airport after a JetBlue flight from Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic. CBS New York reports. Pena was selected for a search after drug-sniffing dogs alerted airport officials to something around Pena's midsection. Gee, really, you think? According to an artifact on the incident obtained by the Gothamist U.S. Customs and Borders Protection officials. Protection officials didn't find anything when they inspected Pena's luggage, but noticed she appeared to be very nervous during questioning. Pena was also then given a pat down before consenting to a strip search. Prosecutor said. During the search, officers observed she was wearing a black apparatus with a silver plastic wrapper rigged like a guard around their hindquarters. Inside the diaper, officials said, they found cocaine. Pena then arrived. Revealed that she had been traveling with Batsingo, who was also searched, according to the Elephant CBP officials. Found her wearing the same cocaine diaper as Pena. Together, the two women carried 6.5 kilos of cocaine. They were arrested and charged with smuggling, according to the New York Post. The two girls are held in custody in Brooklyn. Blessed Single was held in custody in Brooklyn. Pena was released on a $150,000 bond. This isn't the first time this month someone has been caught storing cocaine in their undergarments in a JFK. I'm not surprised. Melissa and Perez Ardequent were arrested at JFK on June 12 after CPC officers found a bra and a pair of sneakers packed with cocaine in their luggage, according to the Star Ledger. Legend, who was also traveling from the Dominican Republic, faced federal narcotics smuggling charges. I don't know what to say with this, guys. I really don't know what to say with this. You would think that they will actually learn that some of this stuff that they're doing, our transportation, especially with the airport security, is catching on very quick. Especially with the scanners they have, and a more stricter rule in terms of pat down and strip searches, and God knows what other stuff to protect us from, being blown up, or protect us from somebody carrying a gun into these airports. You would think that they will actually learn that this is not going to work as much as it was in the old days, but apparently they're still trying, and they're getting caught. There's actually a picture of this, the link I'm going to show you, and I don't know what to say except I'm just amazed they got that far. I'm surprised they even got past security in the in Dominican Republic from this. But apparently they're not as strict as we are here. And man, oh man, oh man, I don't know what to say. It was in the word file. It definitely is weird. Not something that is shocking, but it's definitely one of those things that people are desperate to do when they want to smuggle narcotics into this country. I will say this, that the only reason why I'm actually reporting, because I was actually debating whether to keep this separate or not even say anything about it at all. I guess the reason why, because about a few weeks ago I had reported on a UK grandmother who is sentenced to death in other countries, in another country, for allegedly doing the same thing. And that caught a lot of attention. This one, it may be a federal charge. All I gotta say is they're lucky they're in this country, because I don't think they're gonna get the death penalty, but they're definitely gonna get something very harsh, especially with this situation. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm kind of wondering, is anybody realizing that this kind of stuff is not really working anymore? Well, that's just about it, guys. As usual, I'll leave the articles along with the link to the video. You guys can comment on it. Let me know what you guys feel about this. Your comments are always welcome. Love to have discussion when it comes to these kind of news. I will also do follow-up news on the two that I have mentioned, especially that situation that's going on in Alabama. Hopefully they can resolve that without anyone getting hurt. And with that being said, it's J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.